trails down there, the Buckeye Trail. And so more trees, I keep getting more trees. I planted about 500-600 trees so far.
How far does your property extend out?
Out that way, you see that tree out there? Oh, that one.
The green one?
Yeah. Well, we have that hillside, the other side of those trees. It goes all the way up that way.
Oh, wow.
And then it goes up about 5-6 houses that way. And it kind of zigzags down the hill into a point. And then we just got the option on 14 acres for the other side, so we have all that. And the Friends of the Lower Muskingum River are doing a conservancy here. So we're going to put this onto a conservancy. Wonderful.
You want to start up here at this tree, and then we can race you. And is that a bench down there? Maybe whoever can touch that. On your mark, get set, go!
I'd be laying down there for a while.
Good job.
Anyway,
Thanks for indulging us.
We're staying here at the university. What do you do at the university?
Corporate life, I worked for Nationwide Insurance over 20 years, and I just wanted to keep it so yeah, I worked there for 10 Yeah.
Reminisce about being on the air, I can tell you, days like this.
Mrs. O'Connor.
Hewn logs. They were shaped by hand, and that's original to the log house that's set here. And then over here, we're going to keep your head low. You see the logs that were used for the log house now being used to support the floor upstairs. Our pioneers didn't waste anything. Yeah, if they tore something down or some quilt got old or whatever, they reused it. They found a reuse for everything. Remember when your grandparents used to say rubber bands or string? Some of you too young to know about that.
Oh my God.
This basement was enlarged over the years, but some of the logs that were used were very long, and they went all the way across to the other side. And we took the bark off the logs and treated them for bugs, but otherwise they're original to the house. They're busted. And so when you came in, you thought you were going to the red light district, if you knew what that was. It was in very bad shape. So we had to do re-plumbing, all new electrical wiring, and then all the support systems that you see here had to be put in. But the outside walls, we didn't have to do anything to. This was part of the support system that they used at one time. They have a name for this, but I forget what they call it. And that's how they supported things. They didn't have nails originally, so they used pieces of block or wood. But I don't know if that was part of a hiding place or not. We don't have a picture of it. And this is a hand-hewn log, and that one goes all the way across to help support the floor upstairs. But they were very skilled carpenters, and as you go back up the steps, notice how the steps are built and that they do not give and have no bow in them. Very hard wood. And if you look at the side of the house, at one time, probably about 1900, 1910, this is the kind of siding they would use, 1920. And
That's exterior.
and the spindles are tapered. It's hard to tell just looking at them. And they were all hand tooled, made by hand. The banister, the steps, all made by hand by the people, the Patterson family, who were the carpenters in town, who built this house.
Is this original?
Yes, this is. Come on in. They didn't build this house for a tall man. Into the room that a female doctor once held office. So there's so many things came to fruition after we bought the house. When you saw it, you would think, why in the world would they buy this dilapidated old house that needs so much work done on it? But it was available and the price was right. We thought we was getting a good deal, and we did. And but we had to put a lot of money in it. We probably have over $250,000 in renovations in this house. So, and we still have the outside siding to do. And it was probably put in about the time, like I said, they started to have a little bit more money and wanted to modernize the building. The floor in the hallway and in the next room that we're going to see are original to the time period when they built the second story. And it's very old planks, hard pine, whether it was a bathroom or a closet or a hallway, whatever. If it's a room, they taxed it. So most houses of that period did not have closets. So that was built later. When I was growing up, there were nails on the wall. And the nails was to hang your clothes on. Now, they didn't have that many clothes, did they? If they had a closet, it was very tiny. Here, the wooden planks. This room has 2 doors and different latches on them. They all Quaker made right here in Chester Hill. And there again, you have a closet that's been added on. It looks very modern, like it fits the room, but that's been added on. By this time, though, they were taxing for their room. They were taxing for the size of the property.
The docent is 22% white and a descendant of Thomas Jefferson and Sally Hemings. This is the attic.
You might want another
So you have
mount.
to read it here, you don't take it.
Yeah.
You can always hand it to them.
Yeah.
I can.
It
sent him over there as a librarian, assistant librarian. Good guy. Good, both of them, good people.
Right, and I forgot to mention.
I noticed that, I took a look at it.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Yeah.
Where he left Athens,
Good morning, everyone. If everyone can take a seat, we're going to get started.
That one and that one. Oh, it's still good, don't worry. I've got a sword that's 15 years old.
I know, but it's so.
I just wanted to mention.
Of Rural Action, and I want to welcome you to the 2017 annual meeting of Rural Action, and we're pleased that you can all be here today in Morgan County in Chester Hill at the Chester Hill Produce Auction. A bunch of you went on tours of the Multicultural Genealogical Center and gardens, everything. How'd those go? Richard Wetzel, the mayor of Chester Hill, will be here shortly, who's also a board member for Rural Action, and will be here to officially welcome you to Morgan County. Some major things that the board has done over the last few years to move the organization forward. One, working with staff, we spent a year and a half working on the existing strategic plan, updating. Two other major things that I'll mention that have been really important to the organization in terms of growing capacity. We had a growth campaign this past year, and we were able to mobilize the board and members and staff to reach out and raise enough funds last year to bring in Eric Smith as the Chief Program Officer. Everyone to Morgan County and Chester Hill? Come on up here and say it in the mic. Where's your proxy?
We have just started a new strings program through the Morgan Foundation down in McConnellsville, and we had 8 students who are starting on violin. So we're reading at the Dover House, and the Morgan Foundation is paying for the instruction and for all the materials that the students need. We're getting instruments from the CA House in Zanesville, so that's where I was. It's great to have you here. A nice day. I'm glad it didn't rain. And I hope that you had an opportunity maybe to drive through the village if you're not familiar with it. And of course the diner is.
Our brothers in arms in the fraternity of mayors, so we work together closely, having communities that have similar problems in close proximity to each other. And on your way home, you'll drive through Amesville. I hope you spend
approved, and it's actually up. It will be 31 positions where we have 26 right now. Our 2017 projected budget, 2.8 million, so up from 2.2 to 2.8. It does balance.
Senators Portman and Brown, I would urge you to contact them and express your opinion. I just know how much VISTA and AmeriCorps and all of the national service programs mean to Southeast Ohio. We want to build on the great success that Rural Action has made over these many years, and we don't want to let it go through the loss of AmeriCorps and VISTA, the foot soldiers who do the frontline work every day for Rural Action and many other organizations. Please contact your elected officials and express your support and admiration for what they do.
We're really excited about the dishes. These are owned by our zero waste program. They're recycled. If you are having an event and you want to have reusable dishes, if one breaks, we can send it back. They'll send us a new one and they'll recycle it again. We have zero waste at this event.
I'm Sally Linder, member of the board, and it's my privilege today to giving the Sustainability Awards. It doesn't mean anything if it isn't really happening on the ground, if it isn't being adopted by people who live it and breathe it every day. The Sustainability Awards were developed to honor people for their role in teaching us how to live and work in greater harmony with Earth and with each other, having a generous spirit and willingness to share knowledge, experiences, and personal resources with others, and helping to leave our world a better place because of their personal and professional behavior. Start with the Sustainable Livelihood Award, Jim Hart. Jim served as a VISTA volunteer in Bell Gardens in LA, working with inner city youth in 1967 and 1968. Then he returned to Ohio and was employed at the old Athens Mental Hospital and later at Tri-County Community Action, working with youth. Jim served as executive director of the Appalachian Ohio Public Interest Campaign, AOPIC. How many of you remember AOPIC? Yeah, precursor to Rural Action. For over 22 years, Hart worked for the Perry County Commissioners, developing and administering the waste reduction and recycling program for the county, and for many years lived and breathed recycling. Over his career, Jim has written several $1 million worth of grants for parks, water lines, street repair, and recycling, bringing tax money back to Perry County and creating numerous local jobs, including many at Perco, the sheltered workshop in New Lex. As a volunteer, Hart was one of the founding members of the Sunday Creek Watershed Group. He has also served his community on the Perry County Planning Commission, the Board of Trustees for the 6 County Mental Health Board, and remains a member of the board for the Hocking, Athens, Perry Community Action Agency. He resides in southern Perry County near Corning on his 214-acre certified tree farm, where he pursues his love of gardening, ceramics, and photography. Michelle Shively, could you say a few words?
I've been Rural Action Sunday Creek Watershed Coordinator for about 6 years now, and I've known Jim for nearly all of that time. I first met Jim as a watershed landowner. His farm is within Sunday Creek, and we actually have a monitoring well on his property that he keeps impeccably mowed so we can get to it very easily. This man embodies sustainability, and everything that he's done in his past work and everything he does in his current retirement. He does a lot of clay work and ceramics. In the past couple years, Jim has actually made the Sustainability Awards for our previous winners. He often uses local clay that he finds in southern Perry County. On his property, he uses reclaimed materials to build a greenhouse. Everything that I've seen about Jim just embodies sustainability, and I'm just really proud to know him.
Award. Thank you.
When I first moved to Athens County, I had bought my piece of land in Perry County, but I hadn't even moved on to it yet. I went to White's Mill and I met a guy. He heard me talking about how I would buy some tree seedlings to plant on this new piece of land that I bought. And he said, "Get in my truck." Of course, I was only 23. He looked ancient, so maybe he was my age, I don't know. He threw me in his pickup truck and drove me about 6 or 8, 10 miles outside of Athens and took me out into the middle of the woods that he had planted. And he said, "Reach around that tree." And I couldn't get my arms around it. It was a big white pine. And he said, "Besides my 2 sons and my daughter, this is the most noblest thing I've ever done in my life." Since then, I've probably planted or helped to plant 30 or 40,000 trees. And I'm happy to say that on my farm, the first pine trees that I planted when I first moved there, I can now not reach them. So sometimes you're paying it forward. All of our efforts in sustainability are really not about us, they're about the young'uns in the room. Don't ever forget.
Handle business, and it goes to Air Claws. Will and Natalie Tevis founded Air Claws in November 1994 to compete in the local commercial heating and cooling market. In late 2005 and early 2006, Will, Natalie, and Ryan Tevis did relief work in Mississippi and Louisiana post-Hurricane Katrina, which is when they started their real relationship with high-efficiency residential equipment. Air Claws also installs geothermal heating and cooling systems, including the installation at the Village Bakery. In the summer of 2016, Air Claws and Third Sun Solar created a demonstration of how a heat pump could be powered by the sun and effectively cool or heat a home. They are really an award-winning company.
Air Claws and the Tevises are the kind of civic partners that you want to have. They moved into the village of Amesville about 5-6 years ago. First, they renovated the previous little general store, brought it back to life. They gave a donation to the village to repair and replace the basketball court. They've given money to do events in the park. They've sponsored events at the Amesville Elementary School with their summer food backpack program. They sponsored often for Rural Action the Sunday Creek 5K, Dash for the Darters, and many of the other things that makes you want to have a company like Air Claws in your community. Their civic engagement, their involvement, and their efforts to bring sustainability to the community are second to none.
Industry and business in our area has come in and a lot of times taken and not given back, and driving around our communities you can still see some evidence of that, which groups like this help to take care of, so thank all of you. There's a lot of businesses who've received this award before us, Village Bakery, Bob and Christine, RVC Architects, and other businesses that we've worked with. And we really appreciate the spirit. It really embodies a lot of people in our area about being green, saving energy. I mean, Nelsonville Music Fest last weekend, that was everywhere. And it's nice to see that spirit developing in our community. And certainly it's efforts due to a lot of people in this room, Matthew Roberts, another one working with Upgrade Ohio, and just really encouraging people to think about what they're doing with their energy, with their time, and with their efforts.
I'm Rick Heineman. I'm a Rural Action Board member. I have the pleasure of presenting the Sustainable Partner Award, and it goes to Camp Oneokwa. Yeah! Camp Oneokwa, owned and operated by Big Brothers Big Sisters of Central Ohio, first brought children to the Hopping Hills in 1942. 75 years later, they are still bringing youth from across Ohio to these 737 acres of land. The camp's education department works closely with Rural Action's environmental education team to produce conferences and events such as the annual inquiry-based education conference and recently the Birds in the Hills Festival. Rural Action's Zero Waste program has helped Camp Oneokwa become more environmentally friendly and better able to divert waste from landfills. Through this partnership, Camp Oneokwa and Rural Action strive to provide quality education, healthy food, and good role models to children of all ages. And I believe Joe is going to come up and say a few words.
And Camp Oneokwa are kind of like grade school buddies. And we can get into a whole lot more trouble together than we would by ourselves. Working with camp, we've been able to do is people are moving the needle forward on environmental education in the region. Things like our annual conference at Burr Oak in November, where we usually have over 100 teachers and other types of educators come together to learn about best practices, share lesson plans, and really building community around environmental ed. Our Birds in the Hills Festival, which is contributing to our efforts to build an ecotourism economy in the region. And also our Youth Climate Action Team, which is a high school environmental leadership program. Those are things that are providing what we see as life-changing experiences for people. So we're very pleased to honor Camp Oneokwa in this way. I now present Alexander Marietta.
Thank you for pronouncing the name of our camp correctly. It's Camp Oneokwa. In the 5 years that I've been with camp, we have worked with Rural Action almost every step of the way, and they've really helped us move in the right direction of getting things on track and becoming a better community partner across the board. We've been doing this for 75 years, and on July 1st, we are going to have our 75th anniversary at Camp Oneokwa. So if you've never been out there, we're in the heart of the Hocking Hills. Check us out. We're there all day. It'll be a wonderful time. Thank you very much.
Pleasure of presenting the Lifetime Achievement Award to Pete Warrior. Pete Warrior was born in Columbus, Ohio, grew up in the Cleveland area, and settled in southeast Ohio in 1970. His career encompassed work in the forest industry, education, consultant to rural landowners, contractor for Rural Action Sustainable Forestry Program, and founding member of a landowner forestry cooperative led in partnership with Rural Action. Pete has educated thousands of landowners on sustainable forest management practices. In addition, Pete worked at Hawking College for 28 years as an instructor in forestry and natural resources. His students are now employed in over 39 states. Through Rural Action and Hawking College, he provided extension education for the Ohio Forestry Association and Mead Paper Company, focusing on developing professionalism in forest practitioners in the areas of occupational safety and environmental sustainability, and assisting landowners in successfully implementing sustainable forest management plans. Pete and his wife Margie reside on a farm in New Marshfield, Athens County. Over 42 years, they have restored a former dairy farm to a sustainable mixed agricultural unit, producing hay, maple syrup, timber, pasture, and wildlife habitat. They have cooperated with Athens Soil and Water Conservation District and Natural Resources Conservation Service to implement practices to improve water quality, increase productivity, and restore degraded land to a productive capacity.
So you can't say enough about Pete. He's one of the architects of our sustainable forestry. So I think of him as a sage, a patient man. He's a teacher. He's always willing to help people. He's a great leader. He's a great facilitator. Leads by doing. Thank you, Pete. And the produce auction, he's been a big supporter and helping out too. So he sees our programs across the board and supports them all. It's just that holistic thinking that I think he provides. Thanks, Pete.
Very much, everybody. I'm very humbled. By this award, I worked with a lot of different groups, a lot of different communities within a larger community. And I've come away with as much learning, as great an experience working with them as I hope I can impart to them. And so to all of you who are engaged in rural action, I know you're in the business of building community and building sustainability.
Hey Jim, this is kind of an awkward phone call because we had thought he was planning to make our awards again this year, and you know, here he was going to be one of our award winners, but he was like, oh, something happened and I can't do it. So we had to find somebody else, and we were really worried that we wouldn't be able to find something as exciting or beautiful as what Jim has been able to make for us. John Wood from Homecoming Farm. Yeah, he's operates his farm out of Amesville. He is a fruit and vegetable farmer, and he also is a forest farmer. So he does maple syrup and sustainable wood products from his farm. And so he's been learning to do wood turning, and we're really grateful that he was able to put these bowls together for us. All of the award winners today it's American hackberry, and it's a salted hackberry, which is, there's a fungus that can infect the wood, and it creates these beautiful patterns. The hackberry is from a neighbor's property where John was asked to come in and take those trees and mill them, and John received some of the wood from that and decided to use that for the bowls today. And he couldn't be here today because he's out being a farmer and selling produce. But
I'm Michelle Decker, I'm the CEO of Rural Action. Actually growing, we keep adding numbers every year, but also continuing to go deeply in the schools where we've been, like Trimble and Southern Local and Nelsonville. And that's really important because then you see that nice long-term trajectory where kids start to get ideas about what else is possible, and more teachers really get engaged, and so much potential in our local food movement. More infrastructure for zero waste. This is a longer metric, but starting back in 2009, we had about an 8.9% recycling rate in Athens and Hocking, and we've got it up to over 19%. We needed to go from the very tiny watersheds of Sunday Creek and Monday Creek. We're really close to resolving the problems in those creeks as much as we can. Have brought back so many species in those. So we wanted to take an entire cold country view and pull in the partners and start to organize the partnerships to have that bigger vision and start to attack other problems. Our annual report says about 76%. And that's huge, and I credit a lot of you for helping us do that. 31 national service members now, up from just 26. We were funded by the federal corporation for the last few years for our AmeriCorps program. They said no this year. The state picked this program up. This is tough on the state. They have very limited resources, but they saw the value and the partnerships, and so we're excited that they did that outside. Doesn't that look like fun? There are 6 new staff. And we also wanted to get serious about how do you do entrepreneurship in a way that's going to grow more than just a financial bottom line, but also improve the environment and improve communities. And so we focus a lot on social enterprises. And for the last couple of years hosted the Appalachian Conference on Social Enterprise and have generated significant revenue. And this facility, over 10 years, has put about $2 million into the Morgan County economy. We continue to focus on extraction in the conventional economic development universe, and we continue to have lower investment. The new threat that's coming down, coal plant closures. But we're going to see a lot of those coal plants close, and that's going to affect a lot of communities, and it's going to impact a bigger tax base and a bigger supply chain. Under the Obama administration, the federal government put $100 million into Central Appalachia through the Appalachian Regional Commission. They expanded national service, they were investing in food systems, keeping programs that really keep our communities strong. That's going to be a thrust that we've got to look at. And this lack of investment and diversification has left us vulnerable to drugs, big challenges that we have to overcome. And then I kind of wonder, this larger context of climate change and social polarization, what do we do about this? These problems are big, they are global, but our ability to make an impact in our local communities, as I talk to our, I'm just moved by every day, as you talk to sustainability award winners, as you understand the programs and the partnerships. We've got to expand our role in policy and advocacy. We want to use market-based solutions to empower young leaders. Our national service group that comes through, they go deep on some really good ideas. They come out with knowledge and business ideas. We would love to see some opportunities for them to continue to work in our communities and grow businesses. Build leaders in our communities, and we've got to innovate wildly. There's so much potential and so many assets drawn, and it's us getting connected to each other, our organizations, our neighbors. So much magic can happen. Recruiting more local dollars to invest in and own the work. Sustainable forestry, sustainable agriculture, non-timber forest products, watershed restoration, environmental education. These are legacy programs. These are like 20-year programs. There's no reason to divert from those. Generally, we're adding, which means we are growing. So state resources are going to be really important in fighting for water quality dollars. Our national service folks coming through, whether it's our Zero Waste Pledge or the 2 former national service guys who are at a festival right now, growing jobs and hiring contractors by running the Zero Waste event production business. Those are real businesses that we can grow. We're reaching almost 10,000 people a year. We've got to make sure that they have a voice and that they're really lifted up. So much more to do in workforce development, our community colleges that want to get involved in this. Very often we're talking about diversifying incomes. We're not talking about necessarily full-time jobs, but many opportunities to be creative about how we put money into people's hands. Joe mentioned the growing ecotourism work, an interpretive guide co-op that could be a platform for people who know things about the region and have stories to tell, to get some money and to collaborate and market for those opportunities. There's going to be a whole lot more on this solar supply chain and coal plant communities and the growth of renewals at a big multi-county and regional scale. At some point, the state of Ohio has to start paying attention to this and really recognizing what that impact is going to be in Appalachian Ohio. And recruiting these local dollars, impact investing, through social enterprises, through entrepreneurial communities, even small amounts of local dollars can make a big difference. People often wonder, and our board also very often wants to know, well, how do you measure this? How do you know that you're actually affecting some change? And we think about first engaging and reaching people meaningfully. So this is face-to-face contact, I mean, not just sort of flyers at a booth. And then how many of those people get involved? How many people start to invest? Are they changing their behavior? Are they purchasing new farm equipment or putting up a hoop house? Or deciding to invest in a certification for solar? We're also measuring the assets conserved and restored in water and acres, and then the jobs and the revenue created as a result of that. So I just want you as our members and our faithful to know that we keep track of these things, and this is how we know that we're moving forward. I'm going to turn it over to Debbie now, and she's going to talk about the development plan.
Love the work that I had been doing previously, but it was definitely starting to wear me down a little bit, and it is an absolute joy and a privilege to be able to work with all of you at Rural Action and work with folks who are doing such positive things in our communities in so many different ways. And it's just really inspiring and exciting every day when I hear about what our staff and volunteers and members are doing, and it's an honor to be able to be a part of it. My focus is on really trying to strengthen our membership and our local fundraising to really have a broad base of support for the work. As you know, government grants and priorities can change from time to time. Funders in the private philanthropy world can change their interests. I started in January. I have a few numbers to share just to show how we're doing so far. So 1 year ago today, we would have had 14 new members, 62 renewals, and 92 people who had made contributions to Rural Action. In 2017, January 1 till today, we have 96 new members, 105 renewals, and 232 people have made some kind of contribution. One of the core strategies that we've been doing is to have house parties in people's homes. So these are board members, volunteers who are inviting 10 or 12 people they know to come and hear more about Rural Action, helping us to expand the membership and get to know some new folks. A lot of our members and donors are in Athens County, but we're working in about an 18-county area. So we are very intentionally going to be hosting some house parties and working toward giving society breakfast in some other counties as well to really build more membership and more ownership of the work. We have an incredible wealth of knowledge among the staff and volunteers and board members who work as part of Rural Action, and we really want to try to communicate more broadly about what's going on. We're going to have a quarterly postcard to let people know different ways they can get involved. And we're also going to start working on some opinion editorial pieces that we will shop around to local newspapers in the region. Putting on all of that work too, we are going to be planning for the future in a much longer term way by working to develop a sustainability fund. Have a portion that is an endowment that can provide interest income, that can help smooth things out when there are, a grant that may not come through, like a traditional endowment. But we're also going to be working to develop an impact portion of that sustainability fund that will allow us to invest in opportunities that are mission driven. Somebody who's got a great social enterprise business idea and they need some startup investment to be able to stabilize and do that. It may be a riskier type of investment, but we'll have that flexibility for the board when things are driven by our mission to make some investments, or if we're developing a program and we need to support that.
Dee is the founder and president of the Center for Rural Strategies based in Whitesburg, Kentucky. And if any of you remember when they were trying to bring back the Beverly Hillbillies, Dee fought back. And we did not get a Beverly Hillbillies reality show. We did get Appalachian Outlaws. What happened, Dee? And we got Buck Wild, too. He began his media career in 1973 as a trainee at Apple Shop, an arts and cultural center devoted to exploring Appalachian life and social issues. As Apple Shop's executive producer, the organization created more than 50 public TV documentaries, established a media training program for Appalachian youth, and launched initiatives that use media as a strategic tool in organization and development. Dee is the chair of the National Rural Assembly Steering Committee. This is the only time in the United States that rural advocates get together to talk rural policy at a national level. Dee is here to connect us to the rest of Central Appalachia and remind us that we're all one. Give us some wisdom on the policy scene and what we can do going forward.
Rural action and rural strategy, we always kind of felt like brothers from another mother. We have different approaches, but we have the same values and the same goals. As hillbillies, we're kind of like the Buckeyes on one side of Ohio River and yells at the hillbilly to come across, and the hillbilly says, how am I going to get across? Well, I'll turn on my flashlight, you walk across the beam, and hillbilly said, wait a second, how do I know I'm halfway over, you won't turn it off? Y'all tell those stories, and we heard a lot of them. To understand the relationship between Eastern Kentucky and all of Ohio, really, you have to understand three of the largest American diasporas are when rural economies fail after the Civil War, African Americans moving to the north. Dust Bowl, when climate and the Depression hit in Oklahoma and in the plains and people had to move to California. Well, after World War II, when they automated the coal industry in Central Appalachia, the number of people who moved out is more than the people who are still there. It's maybe 3.5, 4.5 million people. Some of those moved to places they call Pennsylvania. For the most part, people from Eastern Kentucky moved to Ohio. Everybody had a connection to Dayton, communities like Over the Rhine in Cincinnati, to Columbus, to Tiffin. There would be school kids from Gallipolis and Marietta, and they would be back and forth as people were trying to find work. We ended up probably knowing a lot more about this region than you would know about our region. You can hear the Steve Earle song, Hillbilly Highway, or Dwight Yoakam, Read and Write, and Route 23. Those are about people moving back and forth. When I was a kid, these roads would snake back and forth, and on the weekends, it would look like a snake or a glowworm. These cars coming just forever, miles and miles, bumper to bumper, as people would come back home. St. Peter is showing a newcomer around heaven and say, here's the pearly gate, here are the streets paved with gold, and all of a sudden they come across all these chains and shackles. And say, well, what's that for? Is it, well, that's for the hillbillies. We have to lock them up so they don't go home on weekends. And so, we were being asked to go to different places and do different things, like help out farm worker communities, get their story out, or working with people in coastal Maine or the upper Midwest or along the border. We'd had a few minor successes, and we were being asked to help other communities just figure it out, how to get your story out, how to use technology. People in rural areas outside of maybe the price of corn really weren't organized to talk about how you could fix things. And so we thought, why don't we try to deal with this rural issue? A few of us got together, we made a plan, and we then raised some money, and then we opened an office, and it was like, when CBS announced a plan to make this reality show, and they were saying, won't it be funny when they were going to find some poor family, never traveled, no education to speak of. They were going to move them to Beverly Hills Mansion, and they said, won't it be funny when they have to hire a maid? And their idea was to watch them 24/7 and just laugh at them. Well, it's like, this is awful. Who's going to do something? What's your ideas? And I don't know, we just kind of sketched out a little plan one day and sent it in, and they picked us, and all of a sudden, before you knew it, we were putting ads in the New York Times and the LA Times and the Chicago Tribune and the Cincinnati Enquirer, and then it caught on, and people everywhere knew that was bad. Our basic position was, who's the hell to make fun of somebody for being poor and being rural? It seemed like a basic value, the kind of things we heard at home growing up. People like the Heritage Foundation on the right and Michael Moore and everybody got involved, and they just started pillaring CBS, and then there was 100 million newspaper impressions in New York Times. TV got everybody. A farmer from Vermont who kept writing us and saying he wanted to dump a truckload of manure on the steps of CBS in New York, and we could you just hold off on that for a little bit? Finally, they asked us to come out and talk to them. So I went out with our lawyer to LA. We went into some meeting, and they had all the vice presidents and all the programming people, and they started this long list. We were like, just don't do this. This is stupid. It doesn't really help anybody. And they're like, CBS was the greatest rural programming we did, you know, I don't know what it all is, hee-haw, and we had to listen to this list until the president, whose picture we had put on the ads, and was not very happy at all. And CBS did the last cowboy series in America, Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. They had somebody with a gun escort us out. A lot of people out there who care about rural. Appalachian diaspora, where as many people live, there's as many people out there living in suburbs and cities who grew up in rural, who spent their summers at their grandmother's farm. And those people really care about having a rural America that they can identify with, they can connect to. Think about the future in this country. You know, I live in a very poor place. Actually, the poorest part of the country in terms of my congressional district is last in wealth. It's last in health, last in life expectancy. You know, we're making a transition now from a coal-dominated economy to whatever's next. It gives us a chance to reimagine where we want to be. When you think of what's happening in the U.S. economy, we haven't really thought about rural's role. We spend a lot of time thinking about how wealth is created in urban areas, but we haven't really thought about where rural is going to be in 10 years or 20 years. 60% of men who have a job in the United States drive something. They drive a truck, they drive a van, they drive a car as part of their job. There is a full-bore plan that in 10 years, those work vehicles will be self-driving, robots, automated cars. That's the kind of disruption of economy that we faced in Central Appalachia when they automated the coal, or where a lot of communities who are looking at environmental cataclysm have faced. What's going to happen there? We have to create different kinds of economy. Well, one of the things that's going to happen is we're going to be freed up. Bank of America did some studies that showed half of baby boomers plan to move when they retire, and half of those plan to move to rural. Now, the kind of rural they want to move to is high amenity rural, broadband, coffee shops. 46% of Americans would like to move to rural America if they could afford it. Well, I'd love to live in the city if I could afford it, but it's just the opposite. Almost half of the Americans said if they could figure out how to pay for it, they would prefer to live in rural America. Well, the question is, what kind of rural America do they want to live in? Smarter, greener, more inclusive rural America. And that's the same kind of thing that Rural Action is really leading the charge. When you think of sustainable forestry, how you bring local food to market, energy in a sustainable and non-extractive way, imagine what kind of economy could grow out of that. In 2010, we put together the National Rural Youth Assembly. There were kids from Indian country and the Midwest and in the Southwest and from reservations in Alaska. There were kids from the Black Belt in Alabama and the Mississippi Delta. There were kids from California, kids from fancy schools in Wisconsin and the Northeast, and kids who have been in the state's care. First, they put them in a big room and they said, you guys make a map of the United States and showing where you're from. And every time I've ever been with rural adults, everybody talks about how they're different. All those kids did was talk about how similar it was to grow up in Alaska and in the Black Belt of Alabama. It was amazing. This is their mission statement. We demand of ourselves a proactive and invested community that has high-quality health care, adequate housing, and enlightened education in a safe and sustainable environment where no person goes thirsty, hungry, or homeless, and every person is accepted no matter who your mama is. All these things done with love tell the story of our future in rural communities. That's the Mayflower Compact and the preamble of the Constitution. Where you live is important. Zip codes matter, but what's in your heart matters a lot more. It's going to make rural communities better so that we can help out in urban communities, so we can help out in the world's communities. Imagine the kind of community that lifts everybody up. Seeing this work here gives me that kind of inspiration. So thank you for letting me come. When I moved from Hazard to Whitesburg, one of my teachers said, that's great, that'll improve the IQ of both towns. All these kids, all these bright kids, they all move away. I got a chance to do community social work, and my family was in the furniture business. I delivered furniture to a lot of people, and I saw people living in school buses. I saw some tough times, and there was a role for me. I would try to figure out how to be of service. The coal fields have been losing jobs for a long time, since the 80s. Clinton left office, there were 30,000 mining jobs in East Kentucky. Bush, 15,000, maybe there's 3,500 now. There's a difference in metallurgical coal for steel, and there's some specialty coal that's going on, but in Eastern Kentucky there's 30,000 healthcare workers, 3,500 miners. All the effort right now is how do we get those miners back to work? The market's moved on. The amount of oil and natural gas on the market has changed everything. What do? We got to figure out how to fix all the things we broke. Where I live, there's a lot of superfunds. Abandoned, stripped land. There's a huge economy in fixing things. We got to fix some of our people. We got too much addiction. I think there's a service economy. I spent 5 years after Katrina and Rita documenting the rebuilding efforts. When you see devastated community, you drive 50 miles and you see one habitable house, people living under trees. And you go back there now and you see pretty vital communities. Well, what happened wasn't, there was some federal investment. Most of that never got to any of those people. Well, what really happened was service. Mennonites from Ohio and Pennsylvania, hunting clubs from Minnesota, Sunday school classes from North Carolina. People showed up and they started knocking out houses and helping people get started. It changed the economy. It took a different kind of imagination. It took the whole country pulling together to make a difference. We've got to reimagine coal fields as something other than transaction and just being worth what's under the ground. We've got to begin to imagine what they could be worth and then value the culture, value the environment, and value our future. With healthcare, there's more innovation in rural communities than you might expect. We're about to lose a lot of hospitals, but there's also new models, innovative care, outreach. I grew up at a time when you could just show up in Washington, go talk to a senator, and you could get something done. It's like policy in the time of cholera. It's really hard to make anything happen. Their big interests have figured out how to use gridlock to their advantage. Nothing happens, they're going to be okay. They wear people down. Instead of trying to get a majority to pass something, they keep trying to get 5 people to hate it. This is our Hastert rule. What we can do is give them good solutions, give them good options. Then you got to beat them over the head when they don't take those options. You make people accountable, and we don't often do that, especially in rural areas. Rural is a lot more powerful than you think. All of a sudden, you hear people say, look what it's going to do to rural areas. That's a different dynamic. Nobody's really done that in a long time. You got a lot more clout than you might think. That's a story they don't want to get out. It's a cudgel to use.
Nice local beers, all in a fine rural action bag.
Thank you so much.
Just join with me looking to your right, and then look to your left,
and you saw a bunch of folks surrounding you, I hope you'll take that picture with you when you go back as a Rural Action family. And so you all are what give me hope, because we can create the future, we can imagine the future that he talked about, and we can get there because we do it together.
The beautiful bouquets on your table, take them home. Those bouquets are also from Homecoming Farm. So. Oh, also you can buy things from the store. That's great.
Thank you for Rural Action and all the amazing work you do. It really is an honor. Tennessee Running Forge Classic 16 tons. If you're having trouble reading it, you're old enough to remember it. Okay, so let's see what happens here. Some people say a man is made out of mud. A poor man's made out of muscle and blood. Muscle and blood and skin and bones. A mind that's weak and a back that's strong. You know, 16 tons. What do you go to the bottom there? Another day older and deeper in debt. St. Peter, don't you call me, 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store. I was born one morning when the sun didn't shine. I picked up the shovel and I walked to the mine. I loaded 16 tons of number 9 coal. The straw boss said, well, bless my soul, you load 16 tons. What do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. St. Peter, don't you call me, 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store. Last verse. Well, if you see me coming, better step aside. A lot of men didn't and a lot of men died. One fist iron, the other of steel. If the right one don't get you, then the left one will. You load 16 tons, what do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. St. Peter, don't you call me, 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store. We're gonna go for the big ending here. I owe my soul to the company store.